Hello, Fontana Mayor Aquanetta Warren. We have weekly great informational comments and conversations. I got a great conversation today. I'm so honored. We're going to be joined today by our Chief of Police, Chief Billy Green. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Mayor. Thank you very much.
You know, Chief, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I've been the Chief of Police here in the city of Fontana for coming up on 3 years.
Wow.
Yes, it's been a whirlwind 3 years, but we continue to figure out ways to do whatever it is we're doing better than it's ever been done before. And that's our guiding mantra at the police department, is just to continue to make those deposits in the community bank account and remind the community that we're here to support them and partner with them and to maintain our legitimacy to police the residents of Fontana.
You know, what I love about our great chief is that when you talk about Fontana together, he walks the talk. And that makes a big difference, especially right now. I mean, there's been so much going on, especially in the last few weeks. I just feel like the nation's landscape is changing daily, from the killing of George Floyd to the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Public safety and law enforcement has been front and center. Is at the top of everybody's mind. But how is Fontana Police Department dealing with all of this?
Well, what we focus on are those things that we can control. And obviously there's a whole lot of things that concern us, but are just simply outside of our ability to control them. And we believe that to be as effective as possible, the bulk of our effort should be spent on those things that we can control, things that we can take ownership, things that we can send a positive message out to the community, to be accountable for our actions, and to always be willing to engage with the community any chance that we have to show who the men and women of the Fontana Police Department are in the service of their community.
And that's why I always describe our department as second to none. Now, tell me about the independent assessment that was recently completed. What is it, and what will it lead to?
Well, in the wake of the in-custody death of George Floyd and the scrutiny nationwide of police departments, we are fortunate to have an extremely positive relationship with the members of the community of Fontana. But in our effort to continue to be better, we wanted to get an outside look at our police department and to identify if we had any blind spots, if we had any areas where we should focus our effort to improve. We asked them to look at the way that we recruit, specifically in regards to increasing the diversity of our police department. We asked them to look at the way we investigate ourselves, our internal affairs investigations. We asked them to look at our use of force policy, and we asked them to look at the way that we engage with the community and give an overall outside evaluation. And the Hillard Heintze Corporation, who we selected or commissioned to do this report, they're a nationally known company that specialize in reviewing police departments. As a matter of fact, they also were involved with the review in Kentucky after the unfortunate death of Breonna Taylor to look at their tactics. So they're a very well-respected company, and they gave us a lot of insight. And because the majority of us grew up inside of the Fontana Police Department, we thought it was a great time to get an outside lens from experts in policing from the state of Illinois, from the state of Texas, from up north in San Jose, retired police chiefs, to come in and look how it is that we provide the service we do to the community of Fontana, and to figure out a way that we could be even better. And they made some good recommendations. We are going to implement nearly every single one of the recommendations that they made. We're already at work in putting those in place at the Fontana Police Department. We have tasked primarily our administrative division commander, Captain Stover, to deal with the recruitment, with the internal affairs aspect of how it is that we currently do it at the Fontana Police Department, based on the recommendations that they provided. And on the public outreach, our community outreach and public engagement unit is in our special operations division, and we've asked Captain Dorsey, who is in charge of that division, to work with our COPE unit to figure out how it is we can increase our messaging with the community.
Chief, as I listen to what you've done already, not only did you have this consultant come in but now you've already started to implement, and I know you're going to be working with the community throughout this year to educate us all on the importance of this report and what you're changing. It just blows me away. I grew up in South Central. I saw the relationships between the police departments. That's why I became an explorer when I was younger. And to actually have a department say, you know, we want to look at ourselves now. Can you tell me the major takeaways from this report?
The major takeaway for me is that we have, as the Fontana Police Department, we haven't been able to survive during this time of the scrutiny of policing. In America in general, but specifically here in the city of Fontana, we have continued to thrive. And we thrive because of the investments we made in the front end before there was this intense scrutiny of policing in America. We're extremely proud of what we do. We're extremely proud of the relationship we have with the community. It didn't happen by accident. And as I always remind officers every chance I get, is that we have been as successful as we have of navigating these consistently changing times because of the investments we made. But we cannot confuse it with we've reached a destination and that things will always be positive between the police department and the community. And we endeavor every single day to move that relationship forward and to continue to make deposits in that community bank account. In the spirit of doing things better than they've ever been done before, that was the driving factor for hiring the Hillard Heintze Corporation to take a look at our police department. And in figuring out ways to do it that didn't cost the taxpayers money to do it, it's quite an expensive assessment of our police department. We were able to identify and use asset seizure funds, money that have been seized from drug dealers, actually paid for this evaluation of our police department. So although the residents of Fontana will benefit from the assessment, it costs taxpayers exactly $0 to have this evaluation performed.
This is outstanding. Many in the community have voiced they're very encouraged by what has been going on. You know, we've had conversations with so many different groups. I had the opportunity the other day to visit the Chiefs Roundtable. It's just phenomenal, the information that is crossing back and forth. But in planning these key findings, are you going to actually identify when you do make changes that this was a result of the findings of this report?
Yes and yes. First of all, yes. After a period of time in the very near future, we'll be working with the city's public information team, and we're going to turn that evaluation into a public-facing document where any resident, actually it doesn't have to be a resident of Fontana, anyone with internet access could go onto the City of Fontana website and click on a link and see the results of the survey for themselves. And many of the things, and many of the recommendations will be very apparent to the community when we make those changes. For example, we will be turning a community police department dashboard, make that publicly available. So you as a resident of Fontana, or again, anybody with internet access, will be able to click on a link and see how many people did the police department arrest this month? What are the ethnic breakdowns of the people that were arrested? What were they arrested for? How many Part 1 crimes have happened in the city of Fontana, not only this year, but how many happened in this past month? So we hopeful in enriching that dialogue with the community and have it more, those conversations surrounded on fact-based information rather than something that might be happening in a neighboring city or a neighboring state, or in some cases some things that happen clear on the other side of the country can sometimes get all discombobulated and associated with our department when in fact it has no relevance at all.
I am so glad to hear you say that, because people see things happening around the country, around the world, and they automatically want to assume they're happening in their neighborhood. And we have found that is not the case. So I'm happy about that. You know, I'm really excited about 2021 and the new programs that you have coming. Do you have any parting thoughts for this great community? Because I got to tell you, the emails, the text messages, the Facebook posts that I always receive is always so happy and thankful for the great service they get from our officers. So what would be those parting thoughts to our community?
The most important thing I would like the community to know is that your police officers that serve this community are bought in. There is extreme ownership of when our residents become victims of crime, that we investigate cases with a tenacity that I sincerely believe is second to none. This feeling of community that our police department has with the community, and again, that didn't happen by accident, and it was deposits we made before all of this scrutiny came to play, but also investments that the community makes in the police department. I have a fantastic Chiefs Roundtable that I can't wait to introduce to the community once we go back to live and in-person city council meetings. I have a significant number of police officers that have not been ceremoniously sworn in by you yet, Mayor. Obviously, they're fully certified police officers out there, but I'm looking forward to introducing you and the rest of the council to the various number of officers that we've hired since we went into the COVID pandemic response. And lastly, just to hear this message from me, that we are in partnership with the community. We can only be effective in the service we provide if we maintain our legitimacy and the community has the confidence in us to do the right thing, and that we hold ourselves accountable. And I'll tell you again what I've told you before, is I have never once turned down an opportunity to meet with a member of the community that has a concern. Those meetings have taken place, and I continue to make myself available to people that have concerns. We don't have to agree at the end of anything, but at least we will have both sides will have true facts and information on the topics so frequently discussed in our community.
This is amazing, Chief. I'm so thankful for your leadership. We see it in our community, and trust me, this council supports you 100%. This community supports because you support us. You can see the difference in our community. Crimes don't go unresolved, they get solved. People get the information that they need, and the officers go out of their way to make sure that no matter what the experience you have with them, it's comfortable and it's open. And the transparency this chief has implemented in this department is amazing. And I brag all the time on our police department. I'm very pleased with what they're doing. But in this community, you all need to know that our major priority is to keep you and your loved ones safe. In our business community, keep you and your employees safe. Safety is the number one priority of myself as the mayor and this council, and you've seen today of our police department also. So we know that Fontana being together moves Fontana forward. Chief, thank you for joining me today. I look forward to that communication phasing where all of us can review this wonderful report. I'm excited, as I stated, about 2021, but this is how we move us forward. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mayor.